Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Shomler. This is Desperately Dating Episode 3. I'm joined by my co-host and my stepmom, Karyn. I love it. It makes me so happy to say that. I'm like, yeah. Because I know who else in the world at 22 has a podcast with their stepmom about dating. Are you kidding me? There's nobody.
This is so wacky, it might just work.
I know, it's unique and cool. The topics for today we're going to talk about who desperately dates, and that'll be a very quick conversation. And then why is it bad? So, Karyn, who desperately dates?
The short answer is everyone. It's part of the human condition.
Yeah.
You know, we all want to be part of a couple for various reasons, some healthy, some not, but there are times when it gets to us and we want it to happen now, and that can lead to desperately dating. I
think it's huge. That's why this whole show, I think, to me, is such a good idea, is because at some point, everybody's been there.
You bet.
And I think one of the people, like, who desperately dates, part of that is, and this, we're going to overlap some stuff from why. I think it's important to acknowledge that. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with repeating some themes because guess what? For me personally, I got to hear something like 11 times before I understand it. If we repeat anything, it'll be very brief, and it's going to be a different nuance on the last episode. But one of the things you talked about in pre-production in the meeting for this episode was people who don't have role models of healthy relationships and role models of it's okay to be alone. Mm-hmm. Where'd that come from?
Where did that come from? I feel like you just see it everywhere. You know, I see it in friends where, they were never shown what a happy married couple looked like, and so their expectations were low. They were never shown that it was okay to like their own company and to not be part of a couple, and so therefore, it led them to desperately date to fill that void.
And then it goes back to, and this is we talked about pop culture and cultural pressure, but it's also there's not really an example I can think of, at least in movies or whatever, where I can't think of examples of people who are just peacefully single. I can't.
Exactly.
Every movie's about, even like the movies that aren't related to dating, Spider-Man, Batman, they always get the girl. Like, it's never a guy who's just a guy or a girl who's just very happily single, and the movie ends with them single. They always get the girl at the end. Like, it's like we're told all the time, you gotta be in a relationship, you gotta chase, you gotta have that. And it's like, no, it's okay to be single. One of my best friends in the world lives in New York City. She's single, and she has the best life. And she's just chilling by herself, going on adventures all the time. And she was the person who taught me, it's okay to go on adventures alone. Mm-hmm. It's okay to I go to movies by myself all the time. I bring a notebook because I'm a freaking nerd. And it's so much fun. And I go on like dates by myself. And I had to learn it's okay to do that. And if you've never had a role model telling you it's okay to be alone and it's okay to go on adventures and kind of learn to love and date yourself, if you've never had a role model telling you that, those are the people who desperately date who've never had that.
Okay, that sounds really cheesy.
Does it?
To date yourself.
But it's honest, right? Like, maybe it's really funny. I got to be really careful with my ego because, like, I really love myself. But there's like that fine line between confidence and loving yourself. It can go too far for sure, but you should like yourself. You should like who you are.
Oh, yes, I completely agree. And I think that's a big part of peacefully dating, and we'll talk about that a lot later. But it's funny to me, though, that we're talking all about how it's okay to be alone and to like yourself when this is a dating show.
Yeah, a show. But that's the key, right? People who desperately date want I hate to say the goal, but like the desire we all have is to have companionship.
Right.
No matter if you people lie. Like, there's a guy on Randy from Survivor is one of my favorite characters of all time. And he was a guy who lived alone. He was a wedding photographer who hated marriage. His best friend was his dog. But Randy even admitted in the Survivor reunion, he's like, his dog died. And he's like, I want companionship. My dog is my best friend. I'm lonely. Randy, I think, despite the fact his problems with marriage and yada yada, he wants companionship. We all want companionship. And so I don't know how I got here, but it's okay. Learning to be okay with yourself is so key in the process of learning to be with somebody else.
Correct. And I'd say that then the difference is you're dating out of a desire instead of out of a need.
Yeah.
So it's knowing the difference.
Yeah, the need is where it gets dangerous. So who desperately dates? Everybody desperately dates.
At some point, some people do it for a brief period. Some people do it forever.
Yeah.
And it's often people, too, that, like we mentioned, they're newly single.
Yeah.
So the desire is high to couple back up. as you just were talking about, those who haven't learned to enjoy their own company. And then maybe, too, those that haven't handled their own shit. You know, they need a distraction. They need a savior. They need a dad or mom replacement for their kids. And maybe those that need some external validation.
Yeah. There's a huge, I'm so excited for this next topic, the idea of why desperately dating is bad. You have a perspective I would have never, ever reached because you have kids. Mm-hmm. Why is desperately dating bad? And one of those reasons is?
I think that it's often overlooked that who you date, and if you're desperately dating, it's probably not a wonderful relationship, that innocence can be harmed in that. It's not just about you. So whoever you're dating, if you have children, they are also dating that person.
Yeah.
So if that person isn't a great fit, that's not great for your kids. Or if you've got a, if you've got a, revolving door with different partners coming in and out, I mean, that's not great on your kids either.
Or your family. I mean, I can imagine the family members who are like, this is the third guy in 6 months. I'm tired. Like, I don't even want to meet this guy's name because he's just going to be gone in 2 weeks anyways. You're like, until he's been around for 3 years, I'm not going to learn his name. People around you get bitter and frustrated with that, like, this constant desperation and this constant revolving door is a great word.
Yep. And I'm not buying any Christmas presents up until Christmas Eve, I got to tell you.
Are they still together? Because if they're not, I ain't wasting the money.
Exactly.
It also makes your life harder.
Yeah, it does. I think it's very easy to get into a relationship. Yeah. As you well know from recent events, it's harder to get out.
Yeah.
So if it's not the right one, like if you don't put the effort in on the front end, then you've just got, misery really coming at some point in the future. Or worse yet, you stay in a bad relationship and then you're stuck there.
It's interesting. You see this in sports a lot where an NFL team will invest in a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And that quarterback is not the right guy, but they stay with him for years longer than they should because they invested so much and they have hope, and it's not only, you don't only see that with, like, the Chicago Bears have a quarterback named Mitchell Trubisky who they've had for way too long, who they just need to move on from, but they're invested. And you see often people in the dating world, they'll go on 5 dates with a guy, and by date number 5 they have all these red flags and they know it's not going to work, but instead of having a 2-month relationship with that person, it stretches on for 10 more months and becomes a year-long relationship because they're not willing to end it. And it takes work to end a relationship.
Yes,
and it's painful, and a lot of times people just avoid it and stay in this unhealthy, stagnant, bad relationship rather than having the guts to say, hey, this isn't working, I got to step away.
Yeah, and if you're desperately dating, you are so fixed on the goal. The goal is you want a relationship that you're willing to run over those stop signs, as we've said before, or, overlook things that maybe aren't so great on your way to finding that partner.
You called it a short-term solution.
It's a short-term solution, yes.
And I think it's really interesting that this is a piece that I think is very important. You deserve better than to desperately date. Yes. And I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. Like, it's okay to, they need permission, I think, maybe to be like, it's okay to be in a healthy relationship and want to be in a healthy relationship and a better relationship. And people regularly struggle with, I've seen this all the time, struggle with ending things because they lack confidence or they lack the peace to say, hey, no, I deserve better than whatever I'm currently having. Mm-hmm. And you can strive for better and you can strive for healthier, and that's okay. And it's okay to want more and say, put your foot down and say, I'm not being caring of myself because I'm in this relationship. I deserve better than what I'm getting and what I'm in. Mm-hmm. And take that stand and give yourself the what you really want and what you really deserve, rather than putting up with and surviving a unhealthy relationship.
Than enduring a relationship that isn't a good fit. Yeah. And I think you bring up a very important point, and that's that plenty of people don't take the time to figure out what they want in a partner truly. They just sort of by happenstance wind up with people. Maybe it's because they like the way they look, or they're in their friend group or whatever, or if they make the right amount of money or they have the right job. All kinds of things that maybe don't matter as much. But I think healthy dating is more about taking that time to get to know yourself, to date yourself, as you say, and understand really what makes you happy, what are the really important qualities in a partner that you need to look for, and then take the time to actually stick to it.
How much should the list of priorities matter? Here's a great example. The number one most important thing to me when I date is I want someone who's smart. Mm-hmm. But I want someone who's smart, and then they got to be. I want someone beautiful. I want to be with someone I'm physically attracted to, but smart matters more to me than that. It's like there's how much should you like depend on that list of things you care about, and how much should you be willing to kind of go with the flow? And you find someone who's maybe not perfect, but you're like, where is that line? I have no. I'm literally asking you a question because I have no idea.
Yeah, that's a tricky one to answer. I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
I think when we talk more about what peaceful, healthy dating looks like, we'll get into this a lot more. For me personally, I was pretty detailed, but I was also careful not to put things in there that, I don't know, I think don't really matter.
Yeah.
Like if you're a healthy, self-sustained person in yourself.
Maybe you learn as you date, you learn like, oh, this isn't actually
this
really
actually doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
Like for one, money. If you can take care of yourself financially, then putting rich partner on there doesn't make a lot of sense.
Because you don't need that.
You don't need that because
You're
you've got that one
self-sustaining.
all covered. And so I think it's values that you come down to. Like for me on my list, top of the list was nice. I just wanted a kind person, just kind.
Yeah.
You know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Some people aren't necessarily unkind, but you don't look at them and think, wow, they're a kind person.
I'm excited.
You know?
The best test of this I've learned is when you're at a restaurant.
Yeah.
How they treat the server.
Amen, brother.
It's huge. Like that's like a
Yep.
giant moment. If the person like is rude, I was on a date one time years ago where a girl was just rude to the server, and it was I was like, oh hell no, she thinks she's better than this guy. If you think you're better than anybody, like it just doesn't. It's a giant red flag to me.
Amen. Yes, I completely agree. Or how they treat their kids. I can remember one date that I went on where this guy, the way he was talking about how he treated his kids, I was horrified.
Yeah.
Just it was all about him, and he was the one. He was kind of like in the dog owner school of parenting, where I'm the master and you obey, and I was just completely turned off.
Man,
I mean, I could not get out of there fast enough.
It's hard as a kid when your parents are like this. There's this controlling rather than like coexist. It's hard. I don't know.
It's authoritarian rather than authoritative.
Yeah.
I love those words because they're so close, and I always have to like think it through in my head. Am I saying it right?
Another one's dogs. It's really like, I know this is maybe out of left field, but it's for me when I see someone who's like screams at a dog or like holds it down, and it's like either the dog or how you treat your mom.
Yep.
I know, like I'm a single guy who dates girls, but I know when I see girls who are with guys and the guy treats their mom horribly, it's like a big, like I know girls that are like, that's a red flag to me because I am afraid he's going to treat me that way someday. If he's comfortable yelling at or being mean to his mom or whatever with his mom, he might have that capacity to treat me that way, and that's scary.
Yeah. So looking at all those behaviors, I think if you distill them down, that will help you figure out what your kind of key components are that you need to be looking for.
Yeah.
And I agree on the smart one. I need somebody that can keep up.
I need to have good conversations, man. Like that's because you're like, in the end of the day, I want a companion.
Yeah.
Like I want someone to sit by the beach with and talk, or like it's interesting. You want a partner, and to me, like the word partner is so much more appealing to me than girlfriend, because like you want someone. You want to support yourself and be totally good with yourself, but also like I want someone who can give me good advice and good feedback and have in-depth conversations about life with.
Yeah, somebody that you respect their opinion. That was huge for me as well.
It's so cool watching you and my dad because like because my dad and I talk every day. Like we talk 24/7 constantly, and it's cool because he'll be like, "Dude, Karyn taught me this thing," and like I really respect you because what I've seen from your relationship is you guys. It's a push and pull. Like you both make each other's lives better and add to each other and don't seem to take much away. And it's like, that's, if anything, I can't think of anything. I'm sure there is something, but I can't think of it or see it. But you guys so clearly like bounce ideas off of each other. Like he named this podcast.
Yep.
He is the one that encouraged us to do this. Like but then there are moments where he's got this manic energy.
Yep.
And you help him so much work through that and manage that. And you guys are partners in the best sense of the way. That's so attractive and appealing to me.
I agree. I mean, it really is a dream come true.
I gotta say, like, forget where we were going with the podcast. Like, just for me as a stepson, like, thank you for being such a good partner to my dad. I think it'd be a disservice not to mention that. It's so cool to me to see him with you. And not only do I have a good example of healthy in front of me to see, and I have you guys are role models to me, but also like, dang, my dad's happy and my dad's cared for, and that just gives me so much joy deep in my heart. So thank you so much I'm just so grateful you're a part of his life and that you guys got married.
Oh, you're very kind to say. I'm grateful that we found each other too, and that you're part of that package also. Yeah, but it didn't happen without some effort. You know, I had to really put down what I thought in my soul were non-negotiable things in finding a partner. And
what were those things?
Well, kind, like I said, I wanted really important to me to have a kind person, kind partner, smart, likes to do things, but also knows how to relax.
Yeah.
Understands my introvert ways.
Yeah.
Which your dad was actually very instrumental in me understanding that side of myself.
Well, there was a book, it was called Quiet, right?
Yep.
That helped you guys both seem to kind of understand your introversion.
Interestingly, though, we both bought it separately at
Really?
the same time. I'm not even kidding.
What?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
huge.
I know.
Amazing.
It's
That's
kind of
a weird
crazy.
sign.
Yeah, was a weird sign, but we had all kinds of those signs in our courtship.
Karyn, I think I'm learning what this show is. We're 3 episodes in.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing we can do with this show is let our ideas and our topics be a starting point, and then let it lead to just conversation naturally.
I'm in with that. Yeah.
I really like, there's a thing that I learned from you that's so huge, and it goes with relationships where you want to be with someone, and this is, to me, I extend this to friendships because I'm like, I have high expectations. I don't want to waste time with people that aren't great for me. You want to be with someone who you can travel well with.
Yeah.
And because traveling, you run into all kinds of roadblocks, and you think your hotel makes breakfast and they don't, or you miss your Uber, or you miss the bus, or you miss this, or you lose a suitcase. And you got to be with someone who can just go with the flow.
Yes.
And a huge way I find this operate directions. If you're sitting in a car with somebody and you're trying to get somewhere, how do you operate when you're dealing with directions? Are you stressed? Are you manic? Or are you like peaceful and kind to each other? How do you? That's a huge a test or moment to me. Is like, hey, can you give me directions to get here? And if you can't communicate that, work through that well, it's terrifying to me.
I think another one is if you're trying to put together furniture together.
Because it's frustrating.
It is frustrating.
But if you can't have peace and just quietly, and a lot of that is figuring out your own crap first.
Absolutely.
Because if you can't stay calm, a lot of that's just reflection on you, less your partner.
Yep.
Karyn, do you have anything else? This is, I think, our best episode yet, and it's pretty cool how we got here.
I agree. It's fun to talk about, too.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much for listening to episode 3 of Desperately Dating.